So Earl Charles Spencer just casually dropped an absolute bombshell that completely shatters 3 decades of royal family history, and the way this unspeakable secret was brought to light is nothing short of a psychological thriller. Imagine a heavily fortified vault beneath the ancient floorboards of Althorpe House, unlocked by an antique iron key, revealing a locked mahogany box that hasn't seen the light of day for 30 years. Inside sat a single, pristine sheet of blue Kensington Palace stationery containing a desperate, handwritten letter from Princess Diana addressed directly to Princess Anne. This isn't just a simple family note or a sentimental memory. This is a cold, calculated, and terrifying record written in Diana's unmistakable sloping handwriting. A document that exposes an sinister administrative trap set up by the palace machinery just weeks before her tragic demise. For 30 years, the global media forced a narrative down our throats that Diana and were bitter rivals who couldn't stand the sight of each other. The media painted Diana as the emotional, unpredictable wild card, while Anne was framed as the cold, unfeeling traditionalist who rolled her eyes at Diana's every move. But this newly uncovered letter proves that everything we were told was a calculated lie engineered by court advisors. The royal institution knew the truth all along, and what Diana begged and to do behind closed doors will completely shatter your perception of the monarchy forever. Brace yourself, because what you are about to hear changes everything. To truly comprehend the sheer magnitude of this staggering revelation, we have to pull back the velvet curtains and examine the shadowy battleground of the palace during its darkest era. For decades, the public relations machine operating out of the palace worked tirelessly to project an image of absolute control, order, and unwavering tradition. They carefully crafted public personas for every single member of the royal house. Diana was systematically framed by the central hierarchy as a fragile, erratic figure whose emotional outbursts were a constant threat to the stability of the crown. Meanwhile, Princess Anne was marketed as the ultimate stoic workhorse, a no-nonsense royal who held absolute contempt for media circus acts and emotional vulnerability. The world was trained to believe that these two powerful women were locked in an iceberg-cold feud. Tabloid headlines relentlessly detailed alleged hallway snubs, icy glare exchanges at state dinners, and private arguments over royal duty versus celebrity status. But behind those towering stone walls, a far more dangerous game of chess was being played. The central administrative apparatus was deeply terrified of Diana's growing global influence, her untouchable connection with the public, and her refusal to bend to the will of institutional bureaucrats. What the public never saw were the backroom maneuvers executed by high-ranking court advisors. Men in dark suits who viewed the mother of the future king not as a human being, but as an unpredictable liability that needed to be neutralized. These senior strategists began quietly assembling a legal and administrative cage around Diana. They sought to restrict her movements, strip away her personal security, and slowly sever her access to her young sons, William and Harry. Diana was acutely aware that the walls were closing in on her. She knew that every telephone line could be monitored, every staff member could be pressured, and every private move could be leaked to undermine her credibility. She was isolated within the vast gilded halls of the palace, surrounded by court loyalists whose primary allegiance was to the preservation of the institution at all costs. She needed an ally, someone within the inner sanctum who possessed absolute immunity from palace intimidation, someone who had the ruthless courage to stand up to the administrative machinery without flinching. That person was Princess Anne. Despite the public perception of distance between them, Anne was the only member of the royal family who openly despised the scheming tactics of court advisors. She ran her own household with fierce, uncompromising independence and held zero tolerance for institutional bullying. When Diana realized that a coordinated effort was underway to systematically dismantle her life and take her children away, she didn't turn to high-priced lawyers or media strategists. She turned to the one woman inside the royal fold who had the iron will to fight back. The history books recorded their relationship as a frozen rivalry, but in reality, an extraordinary, dangerous pact was being forged in absolute secrecy. A pact that would remain buried beneath decades of calculated silence until now. The atmosphere inside the archivist library at Althorpe House was suffocatingly tense when the mahogany box was finally opened in front of legal witnesses. Charles Spencer had brought in a top-tier forensic document examiner from the London Probate Archives to verify the manuscript before making a single public statement. The verification process was painstaking. Handwriting pressure points were cross-referenced against hundreds of verified historical Spencer family letters. The Kensington Palace crest embossed at the top of the blue paper was authenticated under high-magnification UV light. The faded black ink, the unique paper fiber density, and the exact wax seal residue left no room for doubt. The letter was 100% authentic, and its contents are pure poison for the palace establishment. Diana did not write this letter to express vague emotional distress or cry for help. She wrote it with clinical, terrifying precision. In the letter, Diana explicitly reveals that just 48 hours before putting pen to paper, she had covertly obtained a classified internal palace document. This leaked administrative brief outlined a covert, multi-phase plan to systematically strip away her state security detail under the guise of budget reallocation. Diana explicitly called it an administrative trap. The leaked plan detailed how the reduction of her security detail was designed to create intense personal panic, forcing her to abandon her independent humanitarian work and surrender her public platform. But the most horrifying detail in the letter goes infinitely deeper. Diana wrote that senior legal advisors were preparing to invoke an obscure, ancient legal clause from the 1772 Royal Marriages Act. Their ultimate objective was to launch an aggressive custody battle over Prince William and Prince Harry, asserting that the reigning sovereign possessed absolute legal authority to control the prince's residence, education, international travel, and daily upbringing. Diana saw the legal trap being constructed around her piece by piece. She realized that the institution was preparing to declare her an unfit mother based on orchestrated media leaks regarding her mental health. In her own words, she warned that the palace was assembling a legal war machine designed to isolate her from her children forever. She begged to step in as an impenetrable shield, to act as a fierce emotional barrier between her young sons and the traditionalist advisors who wanted to mold them into cold, distant symbols of the state. Diana wrote that, and was the only person in the entire royal family with the moral courage to look the sovereign in the eye and defend a mother's fundamental human rights. Leaked internal communications from within current palace press offices reveal absolute panic following this discovery. Emergency phone logs indicate that senior advisors were caught entirely off guard. A leaked email thread between high-level palace communications directors shows frantic messages being exchanged at 3 a.m., with one senior official writing, "If the full transcript of this document reaches the international press, it completely destroys 30 years of managed narrative regarding the 1990s court management. We have no legal standing to block this." The public narrative of a tragic, chaotic marriage breakdown was instantly exposed as a convenient cover story designed to hide a ruthless institutional power struggle. But just as the world began processing this terrifying revelation, a second, far more explosive twist emerged from the shadows. If the existence of Diana's letter wasn't enough to send shockwaves through the monarchy, the secondary discovery uncovered by Charles Spencer's legal team has sent the entire institution into a total tailspin. This was not the only copy of the letter. A second, perfectly preserved duplicate copy of the letter had been sitting inside an anonymous, lead-lined vault in a prestigious law firm on Fleet Street for 30 long years. It had been registered under a secretive corporate holding company, sealed with specialized tamper-evident lead seals, and stamped with explicit instructions that it was only to be unsealed upon the simultaneous verification of the original manuscript at Althorpe. And who was the sole authorized signatory holding the master access codes to that Fleet Street vault? Princess and herself. For 30 years, Princess Anne didn't just passively keep a secret. She actively operated as the guardian of Diana's ultimate insurance policy. Detailed administrative logs now emerging from regional service depots near the M4 motorway reveal something staggering. Between 1996 and 1997, official records listed Princess Anne's charitable travel schedules, placing her in identical regional sectors as Diana's private humanitarian visits. Their official motorcades were logged entering private service yards within minutes of each other on at least 4 separate occasions. These were not random logistical overlaps. These were high-level, clandestine briefings where Princess Anne was secretly providing Diana with tactical updates on the internal legal strategies being concocted by court solicitors. Furthermore, historical court circular audits show that Princess Anne quietly altered her personal schedule between 1997 and 2005. She systematically arranged to be present at Windsor during William and Harry school breaks, completely away from media cameras, press photographers, and palace public relations staff. She drove herself in her private vehicle, walked with the young princes through private parklands, and provided them with a safe haven away from the suffocating pressure of Clarence House, and was executing a sacred promise she made to her sister-in-law, fulfilling Diana's desperate plea to protect her boys from being consumed by the institutional machine. The palace legal department launched an immediate, aggressive effort to assert sovereign copyright over the letter, attempting to slap an injunction on its publication under Crown property statutes. But Charles Spencer's legal team shut them down instantly. Because the document was a private letter addressed to a private individual and recovered from a private estate archive, the Crown has zero legal authority to suppress it. Social media platforms instantly exploded into absolute turmoil. Hashtags like #DianaLostLetter, #PrincessAnExposed, and #PalaceTrap surged to the top of global trending lists within hours. Leaked Twitter threads from prominent royal correspondents revealed intense infighting within newsrooms, with veteran reporters admitting that their long-standing sources within the palace had spent decades intentionally feeding them false stories about Diana and Anne's hatred for each other. Online sleuths began digging through archived news footage from the late 90s, reanalyzing old video clips of Princess and at royal events. Millions of viewers pointed out the tense, cold body language between Anne and senior court advisors during public appearances, realizing with horrifying clarity that Anne had been quietly waging a cold war against the palace bureaucracy from the inside for 30 years. The global fallout from this revelation has been nothing short of apocalyptic for the royal public relations apparatus. Across major television networks, streaming platforms, and international news channels, legal analysts and historians are openly calling this the greatest structural crisis for the monarchy in modern history. Public opinion polls conducted across the nation within 24 hours of the leak showed a staggering shift in public sentiment. Over 88% of respondents expressed overwhelming praise for Princess and viewing her as a heroic figure who carried a heavy emotional burden in complete silence to protect her orphan nephews. Conversely, public perception of the historical palace administration plummeted to an all-time low, with the public expressing outrage at the cold, calculating mechanics used against Diana. Social media has turned into an absolute digital battlefield. On TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, millions of young viewers are dissecting every single sentence of Diana's letter. Fan communities are fiercely divided, with intense debates breaking out between traditionalists trying to defend the institution and millions of defenders demanding full transparency and an official apology from the Crown. Influential media commentators and celebrity journalists have weighed in with scathing critiques. A prominent television host declared during a live broadcast, "We were fed a fairy tale narrative for 30 years. We were told Diana was paranoid, unstable, and delusional. This letter proves she was none of those things. She was a mother fighting a cold, corporate machinery that wanted to strip her of her human rights and her children. Princess Anne was the only one with the backbone to help her." Fake leaks and sensationalized social media threads began circulating rapidly, claiming that palace communications directors were holding emergency midnight sessions at Buckingham Palace to manage the catastrophic damage. Rumors swirled that planned public promotional campaigns for senior royals were being abruptly cancelled or frozen indefinitely. Inside the broadcasting industry, documentary producers who had spent years publishing films detailing the royal feud are now scrambling. Major publishing houses are facing intense pressure to withdraw best-selling royal biographies from store shelves, as historians acknowledge that the foundational narrative of the 1990s royal dynamic was built on a monumental lie. One leaked insider report from high-ranking media executive stated, "Every production company in London is currently re-editing their royal history archives. The narrative that Princess Anne disliked Diana is dead. The narrative that the palace was a harmonious household managing a difficult princess is completely destroyed. The public is furious, and they feel deeply manipulated." The pressure on the current administration reached an absolute boiling point when details of a tense, closed-door phone call between senior palace officials and Prince William leaked to the press. The palace advisors desperately wanted William to sign off on a joint statement that would minimize the letter as a tragic reflection of past family tensions. Prince William reportedly shut down the request instantly, refusing to allow his staff to participate in any effort to spin or minimize his mother's authentic words. His absolute refusal to back the defensive strategy left the palace communications team completely exposed, defenseless against a relentless wave of global scrutiny. Just as the palace machinery was attempting to erect a wall of silence and hope the storm would pass, Charles Spencer dropped a final, horrifying bomb that has sent shockwaves through the entire global legal community. During a tense press conference outside the Althorpe estate, Charles Spencer revealed a postscript at the very bottom of Diana's letter that had previously been kept confidential. In this chilling final paragraph, written in dark blue ink, Diana revealed the existence of a massive, hidden personal repository. Diana wrote that she had hidden a master archive containing over 200 original handwritten letters, audio recordings, and confidential diary entries completely outside the royal infrastructure. She placed this trove in the hands of an undisclosed, independent international legal trust, far beyond the reach of British sovereign jurisdiction or palace archivist access. And the trigger condition Diana set for the release of those 200 explosive documents? Diana explicitly commanded her trustees that if the central administrative apparatus ever attempted to manipulate the public narrative surrounding her death, or if any attempt was made to erase her true history, the entire 200-document repository must be released to the global public domain without censorship. Charles Spencer ended his statement with a chilling sentence that left every journalist in the room frozen in silence. My sister left behind a legal tripwire. The document we released today was merely the key that unlocks the door. The real contents of her personal vault have yet to be seen by the world. And that clock is now ticking. The implications are terrifying. The palace is no longer just facing a historical controversy. They're standing on top of a legal nuclear bomb planted by Princess Diana 30 years ago, waiting to detonate at any moment. The press office has retreated into absolute, stone-cold silence. High-level legal scholars are warning that if those 200 hidden letters and audio recordings contain further proof of administrative corruption, surveillance, or legal manipulation, it could trigger a constitutional crisis that the modern monarchy might never recover from. Who holds the second key to that secret international trust? What other royal figures are named in those unreleased audio recordings? And how much longer can the palace keep the lid on a secret that is actively tearing its carefully constructed history apart at the seams? The drama is far from over. In fact, the war for the ultimate truth has only just begun. This is unquestionably the most explosive royal scandal of our generation, and the truth is finally forcing its way into the light. The palace thought they could bury Princess Diana's voice forever, but her words are ringing louder today than they ever have before. Now I want to hear directly from you. Do you believe Princess Anne was the ultimate secret hero who saved Prince William and Harry from institutional isolation? Or do you think there are even darker secrets hidden inside that secret 200-document vault that the palace is desperately trying to suppress? What do you think is waiting inside those unreleased audio tapes? Sound off in the comments below right now. Let's get a real debate going in the comment section. If you found this breakdown mind-blowing, make sure to hit that like button immediately, share this video with everyone you know, and smash that subscribe button with notifications turned all the way on. We are tracking this developing story second by second, and as soon as the next set of leaked documents drops, you will be the very first to know right here on Crown Watch. Thank you for watching, stay tuned, and don't miss our next urgent update.